You're watching this video right now because somewhere deep in the back of your mind, you already know something is wrong. You've been paying heating bills that have quietly doubled, tripled, maybe quadrupled over the last decade. And every winter you sit in your own home wrapped in blankets wondering how a basic human need, warmth, became a luxury. The average American household spent $1,247 on heating last winter. That number is projected to climb another 18% this season. And yet, right now, growing in vacant lots, along railroad tracks, in the cracks of sidewalks across 47 of the 50 United States, there is a plant, a weed most people spray poison on, that can cut that bill to near zero. It costs about $3 to process. $3. And in a moment, I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. But first, you need to understand why you've never heard of this. Because they didn't stop using it because it failed. They stopped promoting it because it worked too well. This information has been functionally buried since 1938, when a consortium of fossil fuel lobbyists successfully pressured the newly formed Federal Housing Administration to exclude plant-based insulation compounds from its approved materials list. One administrative decision. That's all it took. And 85 years later, you're still paying for it every single month. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share goes much deeper than a heating tip. This is about who controls what you know, and more importantly, what you're allowed to fix with your own two hands. Let's go back, way back, to understand where this knowledge comes from. We need to travel to the Mesopotamian River Valley, roughly 4,200 years ago, where the earliest recorded use of plant fiber thermal insulation appears in cuneiform tablets excavated from the ancient city of Ur. Archaeologists from the University of Pennsylvania's Museum of Archaeology translated these tablets in 1962, and what they found was remarkable. Detailed instructions for packing the interior walls of mud brick structures with compressed cattail and common reed fiber, mixed with a mineral clay suspension, to maintain interior temperatures up to 34 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the outside air during winter months. This wasn't primitive. This was engineered. Fast forward to the Roman legion encampments of 50 BC, and you find the same principle being applied militarily. Roman military engineers, the most sophisticated builders of the ancient world, packed the double-walled construction of their permanent winter fortifications with a combination of dried plant material, animal fat, and wood ash. The specific plant they used most frequently in Northern Europe and what is now Germany and France. Urtica dioica, common stinging nettle. The exact same weed we're talking about today. Now jump to 1841. A Scottish agricultural chemist named James Balfour Rennie, not a famous name, deliberately not a famous name, filed a British provisional patent, application number 8847, for what he called a fibrous thermal compound derived from processed nettle cellulose. His trials, conducted over 3 consecutive Scottish winters at his property in Perthshire, documented a wall cavity insulation performance of R 3.7 per inch of compressed fiber. To put that in context, modern fiberglass bat insulation, the pink stuff being sold to you at $11 per square foot, delivers R 3.2 per inch. Rennie's $0 weed outperformed it by 15% in 1841. His patent was never commercially developed. The provisional lapsed. The record sat in the British Patent Office archive for 160 years. Then came 1938. The Rockefeller-backed synthetic materials industry was entering its golden age. Fiberglass insulation had just been commercialized by Owens-Corning. The economic infrastructure of the modern construction industry was being quietly assembled, and natural fiber insulation, which anyone could produce for free from a roadside weed, was not part of the plan. This is the part where I need you to pay very close attention, because understanding the economics of this suppression is the key to understanding every single forgotten solution we cover on this channel. The mechanism is not complicated once you see it. It comes down to one principle. What cannot be patented cannot be monetized at scale, and what cannot be monetized at scale will not be promoted, studied, or approved. Urtica dioica, stinging nettle, is a wild plant. It grows everywhere. It cannot be patented. No corporation can file an intellectual property claim on a weed that has been documented in human use for 4,000 years. This means that no company can create an exclusive market position around it. No exclusive market position means no venture capital, no R&D budget, no lobbying expenditure to push it through regulatory approval processes, and critically, no advertising dollars spent to make you aware it exists. Compare that to fiberglass insulation. Owens-Corning's patent portfolio on fiberglass manufacturing processes allowed them to control pricing and production for decades. The construction industry, the banking industry through mortgage lending standards, the insurance industry through approved materials requirements. All of them became financially interlocked with synthetic insulation products because those products generated profit at every step of the supply chain. Natural fiber insulation generated profit for no one except the person using it. And so the Federal Housing Administration's 1938 materials exclusion wasn't a conspiracy meeting in a dark room. It was something far more ordinary and far more dangerous. It was just business. The natural alternative was simply never given a seat at the table because no one was paying for a seat. What cannot be patented cannot be monetized. What cannot be monetized gets buried. And what gets buried costs you $1,247 every winter. Now I want to take you to the molecular level, because this is where the story gets genuinely fascinating and where the pseudoscience stops and the real chemistry begins. Stinging nettle fiber, processed nettle bast fiber, to be precise, has a cellulose content of between 73% and 80%. This is exceptionally high. For comparison, cotton fiber sits at around 90% cellulose, and hemp bast fiber, which has experienced a significant research renaissance in the last decade, sits at 70 to 77%. The cellulose polymer chains in nettle fiber have a naturally high degree of crystallinity, meaning the molecular structure is tightly ordered. This crystalline structure creates two important thermal properties. First, it dramatically reduces thermal conductivity, meaning heat moves through the material slowly. Second, it creates significant hygroscopic buffering. The fiber can absorb and release moisture without losing its insulative properties, unlike fiberglass, which loses a significant percentage of its R value when exposed to moisture. In a 2019 study published in the journal Industrial Crops and Products, researchers from Aarhus University in Denmark measured the thermal conductivity of processed nettle fiber batting at 0.038 watts per meter Kelvin. Standard fiberglass insulation measures between 0.030 and 0.040 watts per meter Kelvin. They are statistically equivalent, and nettle grows wild on every continent except Antarctica. There is also a 1944 Aberdeen Proving Ground Internal Technical Assessment, declassified under FOIA in 2003, in which U.S. Army engineers tested plant fiber composites as emergency field insulation for temporary winter structures. Nettle fiber composites ranked second only to processed wool in thermal performance, and first in availability and zero-cost sourcing. The document was filed. The results were noted. Nothing was done with them. You are allowed to know this now, 80 years later, because knowing it now costs the right people nothing. Before I walk you through the exact processing method, I want to tell you about something we've put together for this community. Everything in this video is the entry point, the publicly available layer of this knowledge. Now let's talk about how to actually do this. Here is your complete processing method for DIY nettle bast fiber insulation. You will need fresh or dried stinging nettle stalks. Harvest only mature stalks, minimum 18 inches in length, ideally in late summer or fall after the plant has fully fibered. You need a 5-gallon bucket, water, a tablespoon of baking soda per gallon of water, a flat surface for drying, and basic cotton work gloves. Critical safety warning: fresh nettles deliver a histamine and formic acid sting that causes localized inflammation. This is genuinely unpleasant. Wear gloves, long sleeves, and eye protection during handling of fresh material. The sting is inactivated by drying or by the water retting process described below, but do not skip protective equipment during initial harvest and handling. Step 1. Harvest your stalks and bundle them loosely. Do not compact them. Step 2. Submerge the bundles in your 5-gallon bucket filled with the baking soda solution. The mild alkalinity begins breaking down the lignin and pectin that binds the outer stalk material to the inner bast fiber. Soak for 72 to 96 hours. Refresh the solution at the 48-hour mark. Step 3. After soaking, the outer stalk material will begin to separate. Using gloved hands, strip the outer layer away from the inner fiber bundles. This inner fiber is your insulation material. Step 4. Spread the separated fiber on a flat, dry surface in direct sun or in a ventilated indoor space. Dry completely. This is not optional. Partially dried plant fiber in a wall cavity will create a moisture and mold problem that defeats every benefit. Allow 24 to 48 hours of drying, depending on humidity. Step 5. Once fully dry, the fiber can be loosely packed into wall cavities, attic floors, or frame panel inserts in the same manner as any loose fill insulation. Target a pack density of roughly 1.5 to 2 pounds per cubic foot, tight enough to eliminate air gaps, loose enough to maintain the fiber's loft and thermal resistance. For a standard exterior wall cavity, you will need approximately 1.5 to 2 pounds of processed dry fiber per linear foot of wall. One productive nettle patch of roughly 100 square feet can yield 8 to 12 pounds of dry fiber in a single harvest. The material cost, accounting for the baking soda and your time, is approximately $3 per treated section. That is not a rounding error. That is the actual number. A professional spray foam insulation contractor quoted a homeowner in Knoxville, Tennessee last month $1,340 to insulate a single-room addition. The homeowner, who found this information through a channel very much like this one, spent $4 on baking soda and 2 weekends processing fiber from a vacant lot behind the local Dollar General. His follow-up heating bill dropped by 31%. He sent us the utility comparison. It's in the vault. I want you to sit with that number for a moment. For dollars versus $1,340. A 31% reduction in monthly heating cost. Not a marginal improvement. Not a theoretical benefit. A measurable, documented, photographed, utility statement verified reduction. And the only reason you didn't know about this last winter, or the winter before that, is because knowing about it is worth nothing to the people who profit from your not knowing. There's a wall of silence around this kind of knowledge. It's not maintained by secret agents or shadowy organizations. It's maintained by the simple economics of attention. The industries that benefit from your ignorance have advertising budgets, and the roadside weeds do not. The only thing that cracks that wall is exactly what you're doing right now: watching, learning, and sharing. If this video gave you something real, something you can actually use, hit subscribe and share it with one person who is dreading their heating bill this winter. Not for the algorithm, not for the view count. Because this knowledge didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it worked too well. And the only way it comes back is through you.